Pat O'Donnell, he's a real, true influencer. He thought beyond kind of the boundaries.
He really just epitomizes the perfect character, you know, working in, loving, and playing in these mountains.
When he steps into the room, the kind of temperature of the room goes up a few degrees.
And he'd worked at Patagonia, he'd worked at many ski resorts, he'd worked at Yosemite, a stint at Colorado Ski Country. I think Aspen was the quintessential place that he hadn't been to.
He really cared about the people he worked with and the mountain and the experience.
As a leader and as a ski industry executive, Pat was engaged, he was hands-on, and very disciplined in his style with his staff.
He made us work hard, but he also made sure that we all took time out for fun, and he encouraged us to get out and enjoy the mountains.
Pat was the guy who opened up Aspen Ski Mountain to snowboarding.
My version of the story is that Pat wanted to snowboard on Ajax. That's why he opened it up to snowboarders. But in fact, the reason Pat was a snowboarder is because he was a much better snowboarder than he ever was a skier.
You know, Pat's always been an innovator, a leader. It's not surprising that he kind of pushed the envelope there to say, you know what, we need to be more inclusive.
And a lot of folks didn't want it to change, but he was able to, with his cadre of folks, go out and do the X Games, which brought the new wild and crazy to Aspen, which was really kind of challenging the avant-garde.
I really give Pat credit for leading the industry with respect to guest service.
He very often was up on the hill, you know, first tracks with the patrol and early on, to get out and see what was happening on the mountain and make sure that everything was in order for the guests that were coming for the day.
My fondest memories of Pat were always our Colorado Ski Country meetings every spring. And Pat would always tee up the excuse of the year, whether there was not enough snow, there was too much snow, the airport wasn't open enough, this happened, that happened.
I used to leave Keystone early in the morning to get up to A-Basin to kind of get a head start on the day's work, and so oftentimes I'd leave Keystone at 5:30 to drive up to A-Basin, and Pat would be running back down Loveland Pass after having run up to the summit, leaving his house at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So we'd always wave to each other as I was driving up the hill to go to work, and Pat was coming down the hill from his run to the top.
His history of change and the way he addressed the environment is, I would guess, probably going to be one of the defining factors of not only Pat himself, but certainly he highlighted a lot of the significant issues of our industry.
He was doing things 10 years ago that left other ski resort operators shaking their heads. They thought he was crazy, and now everybody's doing it.
Pat and Aspen's leadership on wind power and alternative forms of energy truly was the catalyst for Vail Resorts going 100% wind power.
One of the most important things he did that happened early on was the development of an employee foundation that was funded and managed by the employees to raise funds to give to local environmental projects.
And I think it's his management and his leadership style that he brought to the Aspen community, and it's bled over into the rest of the ski community. And together, I think Aspen is held up as an example as what can be accomplished by working with your community